Yeah, baby.
Yes, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, even according to where you are. It's almost morning for us here. We're recording from Lisbon. It's 8 minutes to midnight. So welcome back to the Barefoot broadcast. This is our second episode, and we're going to talk about all sorts of things, really, about what's on our minds, what's coming to our feeds today, what brings us joy, and also to answer up the question that was remaining from yesterday, where one of our community members, Suze, she asked us what meditation apps we use to speed up manifestation, or does it speed up manifestation? And we just didn't get to the end of it. Now, just to, just to kind of set the scene here, we are keeping this to being 30 minutes each time we do one of these sessions. And we're going to have a little check-in at 10 minutes and at 20 minutes. So if you're following, remind us at 10 minutes and at 20 minutes, because we haven't got our gong sound effect. And I might do a little bit of sprinkling of magic fairy dust. No, Carl's saying no. It's so funny because Carl is always full of gimmicks. And yet today he's like urging me not to. To be fair. Oh, sorry.
I thought it was all part of a conspiracy. I did,
I hadn't put your microphone
No, I put a
on.
message out for help. I said, help, she's making me do another show later. And you bring me on and you change everything. I know how you felt like last night now.
Exactly. Now you
all
know.
These plot twists and new things I'm supposed to be doing. It's unbearable, the pressure.
Yeah, well, to be fair,
the stress.
You have just done 2 hours straight of live shows, haven't you?
Yeah, hosting
on your other channel. So yeah, you can be completely forgiven if you're.
What I'd like, the whole point of the dong, the two dongs that we had, they were like a civilized version of our Zen master, jumping out from behind a doorway and smacking us with a stick just to put us in the moment.
Yeah.
Now it's best that people don't do that, but if someone just writes dong unexpectedly at around the 10-minute mark and the 20-minute mark, we will then check in as soon as we see that. The thing is to be taken by surprise, and that's how it was set up.
I didn't realize.
Did you not realize that?
I did. Well, when
we would be talking, and then we'd hear it, and that would just bring us back into the moment. That's the point of it.
Okay.
So if you decide when you're going to do it, it's like trying to tickle yourself or stand on your own shadow. You can't really surprise yourself, can you?
Yeah. Good point. And if you're listening in, let us know where you're listening in from. We'd love to know. Let us know how you're doing. The chat room is open, and we're absolutely
no cost.
This is
not yet anyway.
This really is a community show that we're hoping to build every time that we do this. And obviously, every comment that comes in helps to shape the show. We're really happy to keep this kind of loose and baggy and just see what comes from it. That sounds
Speak
a bit
for yourself.
weird.
Jackie is here from the US.
Hey, Jackie.
Hello,
Thanks
Jackie.
for
Lovely to see you
joining
here.
us. Yes, it's wonderful. Jackie's just been on a really lovely tour. Yeah, she watched us recently on the Good Morning Portugal or Good Evening America show very recently. And George is here.
Oh, dear.
How you doing, George?
What do you want?
So, where do you want to
see
start,
you.
Mr. M?
I'll tell you what I want to start with. I want to start with why I think this is important.
Go on.
Quite honestly, and he's all good. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
All good. Just like the Friday morning meetings. Everyone said they were all good, even if they weren't, didn't they? Well, that's what we do as human beings. I was doing some Twitter scrolling, cheers, and I was just looking at some of where is our other slide here? I really like what you've done with the intro titles, by the way. And
it was a bit of fun, wasn't it?
Oh, it's a background, not a. It says anyway.
What are you looking for?
What's the strapline you came up with? Lightheartedness for Planet Shit Show.
Do you know what? I can't even remember.
But the emphasis I'm going to talk about here, just for a moment, I'm not going to dwell there. But I mean, honestly, Planet Shit Show, absolutely right. It is disgusting what some people are up to on Planet Shit Show.
Yeah.
Demonic, devilish, unhuman, inhumane, disgusting behavior. No, absolutely no punches pulled about that.
And that's just actually everyday normal people, right?
That's just me.
That's just all of us, because we all have those moments.
But we have that within us.
You're actually talking about something much deeper than that.
I'm talking about the dominant narrative, and I don't really want to get too much into the definitions and specifics, but I think people know what we're talking about with Planet Shit Show.
Yeah.
People know what we're talking about in the Western civilization, so-called, of uncertainty at the moment, and how some so-called leaders are behaving, and how it is for many people on what we are calling here Planet Shit Show now, and that there is some terrible, awful behavior going on. And I find it really upsetting if I focus on it too much. And what I also recognize is that whilst there are many brilliant people within that environment, and I'm talking about Twitter as quite the vignette of the reporting of the horror that is the unfolding of Planet Shit Show.
Yeah.
There are some lovely people in there as well, and that's why I'm drawn back. I think part of it is, that sort of primal urge to defend and be aware and have an animal brain, but I also have a human heart, and my human heart goes out to those other hearty people like Seb Lee, for example, one person who I see on Twitter who says the most amazing things. And this young lady here, and I will call her young lady in quite a patronizing way, Laura Matsu, almost.
Oh, yeah.
And you can take some credit here. She posted this up, and it's her and people like her that I do like to go to Twitter for, to show that there is some humanity within the glowing embers of Planet Shit Show. But is this you, Mrs. M, who had economic collapse on their 2023 bingo card?
Yeah.
Called it? Okay. Yeah, all right.
Yes.
Fair play. So, do I have to put that back on each time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is that a design fault, or just something another thing I need to remember?
You need to be aware of that. Oh, yeah. I mean, why don't we just take it off? Everyone here can.
No, I like it. Leave it on. It's really nice. It's really nice. So Planet Shit Show it is. Horrible. There are some people behaving horribly towards other human beings, and I have my suspicions what their motivations are, and it doesn't. There are no excuses, and I think most people can understand what I'm saying. Now, what is possibly absent in the picture, certainly that I see, is a place where I'd like to hang out in the face of that, and a community I'd like to belong to in the face of that, and some support in the face of that. And that's what I hope we're going to provide.
Yeah.
And a vision bigger than that horrible. This idea of drawing a bigger line next to something.
Yep.
And that was put to me by Satish Kumar, who's remained quite an incredible voice in the last few decades of environmental harmony. A J.N. Monk, editor of Resurgence magazine for a little while, a teacher at Shimika College and all that. A lovely bloke, and walked from India apparently to Europe, and a real sage among us, a true elder. And I remember being in a session with him once, and he said, one thing you can do is if there's a problem and you think of it as a line, you can draw a bigger line next to it. So how about our Barefoot broadcast community be that bigger line in the times of Planet Shit Show, such that we have a vision, a longer term vision than these jokers who've got all these horrible plans for us. Have your plans, but don't inflict them on me. Okay, do your thing, have your ideas, but I feel very overwhelmed and undermined by global agendas that treat me like some sort of asset or cattle or something like that. So I'm not up for it, and together we can have a much bigger vision, draw a much bigger line, and congregate and gather and remind each other, keep your chin up, you old bugger. When the existential stress gets too much, there are shoulders to lean on. There are other hearts that are open, and minds that are open to accommodate you and support you, and get you back on track with your biggest, most loving, and most beautiful, and to coin and to take the phrase of Charles Eisenstein, for us to birth and live in the world that we know in our hearts is truly possible.
Well, I'm glad you turned it around, and I just want to share what Jackie's saying. Jackie's saying lack of motivation has been the theme for me this week. Tired of the shit show in repetition and things remaining the same, ready for change to start happening. And I'd like to call, I'm going to call the first gong, if I may, because I think you need to kind of let that energy
chill the hell out.
Yes. You know what? I mean, it's me that's been getting riled over the last
I'm not
3
angry,
years.
but you're
not your usual smiley self. Come on, let's just take a deep breath.
Oh, I do have to say, okay.
I'm going to do it.
Join in at home. You know the words. Om Shanti.
You know what? It's when you take that breath and just quiet the mind just for a moment.
That is so rich coming from you. But I will not, I will not be bitchy.
You're back to your usual
After,
self.
no, after the day you've had, I think you deserve a big old deep breath out and to connect with those senses again. And this is what we're talking about with Suze, isn't it? Does meditation work?
Yeah.
Does meditation accelerate or help?
Mm.
And I don't know. I mean, only you know that. Meditation is one of those things that you can only know if it works in your own experience. I'm not interested in some bloody university research into meditation.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Comparing the theta brain waves of Buddhist monks with criminals or whatever they do. The only real test of meditation is if it works for you.
Yeah.
And what is it anyway? In its simplest form, it's just getting back in the body and be connecting with now, being here now. And the best way to do that, I think, is to connect with the senses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to stop thinking and to have a few blessed moments of being. Simple as. And so, I don't have an app. I contribute to one.
Yeah.
And I get $2 every year for that, don't I? No, I tell a lie. $2.30 a year.
Month. I think it's a month.
But it has to reach $5 before they'll pay out on that. I could go quite hungry waiting for Insight Timer to pay me.
Yes. Well, it's funny because like Suze's question, it was funny because like, do we meditate? The answer to that is no. But are we meditative as people? Then the answer to that is probably yes. Maybe I shouldn't talk, for you, but I spend a lot of time in between rushing around, sitting down and taking a deep breath. And just in that moment where you take that breath, you feel that sense of relaxation. And I think meditation can happen in all sorts of things, like going for a walk, even washing up, which is one of my favorite things, getting my hands all soapy. I'm in my senses, and I really connect into, what makes me tick. I ask myself questions and
You can hear yourself tick.
Yeah.
Isn't that the thing?
Yes.
I mean, why are we even calling it? Why are we even calling it
Going
meditation?
Inside. Yeah.
I mean, why don't we describe it as what it is? Everything's a bloody thing in our world, isn't it? It's given a name and then people argue over the name.
Yeah.
But if you just stick to the activity, which is coming to your senses.
Yeah.
Or stilling yourself for a moment, or being still and know that I am God. Any of these things, we know what it is and we're either doing it or we're not doing it.
And the funny thing is, to answer your question, Suze, we both contribute to an app called Insight Timer. I've been a contributor to Insight Timer for about 4 or 5 years, and I've got about 6 or 7 tracks, and I tried to launch some courses, and for some reason there's a disconnect between us. So every time I suggest something, it kind of gets lost somewhere. So my learning from it is that what's there is meant to be there, and I sometimes get little emails from people, which is really cool. But I've also got
just get criticism. Yes. I got beef with all those spiritually correct purists over there. Who
Go on then.
No, that's not meditation. You talk too much. Scroll on.
Yeah.
Just if it doesn't work for you, don't come back and be disappointed a second time. Just move on. And also some really, some people do like my meditation made simple and very sort of practical approach to it. But I suppose I'm in the wrong place because there are a lot of people on those and other meditation apps, and I haven't got the right photograph. I don't have a picture of myself in a cheesecloth shirt open to the waist with my ponytail blowing in the wind of a Balinese island or anything like that. So I am a little bit.
Well, I think my lead picture on there is actually me sat in Bali in a meditation.
Yeah, well, you're
pose.
spot on, and people can tell that vibrationally, obviously, and they can tell I'm just an angry person who can't teach them anything about meditation.
Do you know what though? You've really raised a point because
do I need to punch somebody in the face here? I know this is love and light.
Yeah,
but is somebody talking about biting your cheeks?
Yeah, somebody we're getting
a bit of trolling. This is what happens late at night, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and when we're monetized, you can stick around and give us a super chat and say stuff like that, but only to me. Okay, I'll let you bite my cheeks for $20.
I'm gonna
only gently nibble them.
I'm gonna block this user.
Can we not see what they're gonna say next?
No, they're gone.
Okay, cool.
No, it's. How come that is still on the screen though?
You can't get rid of it now.
Oh no!
No, put another comment up in it, and that will get rid of it. Just click on click on the badger.
The badger.
The badger would never say. He would say that to me, wouldn't he? He'd like to bite my cheeks.
Yeah. You may not be angry, but you do, however, seem to be drifting aside from where you were.
Is that like metaphorically or physically? I wonder.
I think both.
Some of my meditation videos, I have sort of slowly drifted off. That one that I did where I looked like a tramp in a hotel reception was quite like that. By the end of it, I was just all bedraggled and disheveled in a hotel lobby.
I actually recorded a couple of new tracks today, and one of them is to help people with people pleasing, which is a really awful and understandable habit that so many people have. And I, hold my hand up and say, yes, I people please in a way that sometimes is a bit pathological. And so what I'm working on at the moment is to release myself from that. And one of my clients is working on that as well and wanted to talk about it and wanted me to record something for her. So I've recorded, I made it so that I could share it on YouTube as well. It's going to go up tomorrow. And so I've been practicing. I've been in and out of meditation all day, writing the script, B, recording it, and then sort of testing it. And it's
lucky you.
It's so joyful to do that. And the funny thing is, I've just remembered another sort of like meditation link. I did write a piece for Spirit and Destiny, where I did meditation styles for each star sign.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I agree, Carl. I know you've been really chastised for having your upbeat way of meditating and focusing inward. Like, I think you did a video meditating with goats or something, didn't you? And people, I think, are a
they
little
just wanted to see me bitten by a goat halfway through.
Yeah, well, I think there are some purists out there that think you have to, be quiet and silent, and that there is this
fair
only
play,
way.
each to their own. It's a bit of fun, I'm not in for the old, contortions and uniforms and endurance test side of meditation. Everything has its place, doesn't it? Sometimes you really do need to prove to yourself that you can go away for 10 days and say nothing to anyone.
I would actually like to do that at some point.
I wouldn't like you to do that at some point.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Got 3 kids here.
I can see the benefits of a silent retreat for sure.
Do you think, would you, okay, this is an interesting one. So maybe we should talk about the Vipassana meditation retreat. I honestly think a lot of it is virtue signaling, spiritual correctness, and endurance test stuff, kind of holier than now. And I've been there and done it. That's why I say that. And I guess I'm projecting because I used to do these hours and hour long meditations, transmission meditations they were called. And I would sit in a very worthy way with a group of other gentlemen on really long meditation sessions. And looking back, I think I was just wanting to show that I could do it. I don't know what actual benefit came from it. And, sometimes it's like that in a spiritual game, isn't it?
Yeah. We're joined by Jacqueline Branco.
Good evening to you.
Good evening, Jacqueline.
I thought we might see you at the pickleball demonstration on Sunday. But this is not the place for talking about pickleball, is it?
No,
or is this the place to talk about?
We're not really talking about local events necessarily, but we are talking about where we find joy and how we can connect inside. And
yes.
And how
we can get some light relief from Planet Shit Show.
Exactly.
That was your strap line.
Let's get some light relief from Planet Shit Show. Now, did you have some other things you wanted to
Certainly
share?
did. I mentioned Seb Lee before. Oh, I've still got this in the image bank. And I'm surprised that TED Talks haven't been in touch with me yet.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be.
Thank you.
No offense.
So it's hard to create. I saw this, I think, it might have been this morning, certainly in the last 48 hours. Seb Lee, at the Corona Cure on Twitter. I've invited Seb. I've not heard back yet, but I think he will join us as an interviewee on here. I think we're on the same wavelength. I hope he thinks that as well, because I'll find out. He might think we're definitely not on the same wavelength and it won't happen. But anyway, I'll quote him here. It's hard to create a network around a solve-all approach. And this is to do with the conspiracy theory. Excuse me, the conspiracy theories and the collapse. And prepping and all these sorts of things, and people preparing themselves for not just for the collapse of what is, but for the renaissance of what could be, and or not the renaissance, the nascence of what could be. And I think Seb's approaching the short and medium term here, and he says break it down into manageable chunks: a food co-op group, a financial help group, a preparedness group, and a health and medicine group. Now, approaching it like that as groups of people makes it quite a lot of fun, I think. And I wanted to share that with you because I thought that may be something, that would help us organize our thoughts and our social life as well. Put aside those minor man-made differences and align on a shared objective. And my experience of communities is that they always prosper when they're aligned on a shared objective,
Mm.
rather than a lot of petty and personal agendas.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we're kind of actually already forming into some of those groups. You're in a financial group at the minute, aren't you? You've just done
sorry, it's this one, yeah.
You've just been
Tonight we did
doing
the
a
Portugal
financial
Business
health
Club,
group, haven't you?
yeah, which and they are the overlapping Venn diagrams as well, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they
Because
are.
the
Because a lot of the
preparedness
people
is,
in the preparedness and the food will be the same. Preparedness and health and medicine.
And what about food and health and medicine?
Yeah, exactly.
They can be grouped together,
Yeah.
can't we? In
The
a way that they're
financial
not at the
one's an
moment.
interesting one, because a lot of people, that's a sticking point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who are really quite financially aware and who maybe have alternative ideas on how they're going to manage their wealth, they tend to be a little bit more technical and a little less homespun. But yeah, I know people that tick all of those boxes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
George is calling me out here.
How so?
I remember many conversations about our respective worldviews
Yeah.
back in the day. We tease each other and discuss all sorts. I do see you drifting more towards where I was. Are you not there now, George?
Where are you now,
Which isn't
George?
a bad
Have
thing.
you gone all socialist on us?
However, he says, don't let yourself become as jaded as I have been. Oh, mate, big hug to you, the Badger, on that. And don't, please. I don't know. That's quite the confession, isn't it? And I hear a huggability. I hear huggableness in
You know
that.
what is quite interesting, because
he is right though.
Yeah,
and I think if the word woke had been around,
we'd have both been quite woke.
Yeah, I
like
think
4 or 5 years
I
ago.
think 4 or 5 years ago, I was much more virtue signaling and social justice woke kind of person. And as much as what I was interested in the outcome being, I do see how the way I went about it, and I couldn't see it at the time, probably did. I mean, you used to call me a bleeding heart liberal, I think, didn't you, the Badger? Which gives you some idea of what other people may have thought as well. But I think it was incorrigibly virtue signaling, about which I'm a little bit embarrassed about, but
Yeah,
not.
I am
But
as well,
I'm
actually.
also happy to move on, because there's no point beating yourself up about it, is there?
Well, it's interesting because before the thing that occurred that changed pretty much everything that we know about right now, I didn't really know the politics of many of my clients. It never came up. It just wasn't something that people shared. Nobody really gave much of a monkeys. Everyone kind of got on with their own life and were sort of interested in having a great time, having a great life. And since then, it feels like I've got a partition through, my book of clients, like who I'm working with. And it really feels like people are like, whew, like really like, they've really changed. And I recognize that I would have been defined as woke about 5 or 6 years ago. And before we left, actually, we were getting a lot less woke. We were getting a little bit, because it started to get a bit nasty about 4 or 5 years ago. We started noticing that there were people like saying, well, if you care about this, you'll do this. And, and it was getting kind of fascistic, and it was like, whoa. And one of the things I've really noticed. I
don't remember that.
Yeah. One of the things I've really noticed is it's just like, it's almost like the left is the new right and the right is the new left.
Yeah.
And actually what's happened really is I've just kind of found myself really in the middle.
In fact, aren't you just being more yourself?
Yeah, maybe.
Without needing to cling to a political ideology.
Yeah, I mean, no political ideology actually satisfies the being that is me.
But no political ideology is the real anyone anyway.
Yeah.
I think political ideologies are reflections of what needs healing in people.
Yeah.
And they cling to the ideology in the real world, so-called, that suits their pain most. And I think, George...
Oh, we've got a dong moment coming up.
Oh.
And then we'll come back to some of our... yeah, that's a great one.
We just, as soon as someone says dong, that's it. She is our Zen teacher with a big stick,
Thank
Jackie.
you, Jackie.
Ooh.
Yeah, I felt that.
I felt my Kundalini rising then, Jackie.
It was so funny as you went, oof. I felt something then.
Yeah,
as well.
Thanks for the oof there, Jackie. And you make some great points here as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Jackie always does, actually.
So that was. Let me just read that again, because I
Yeah.
think it's important to acknowledge, says Jackie, the grind has been long.
Yeah.
There can be love and light, and you can still be frustrated.
Yeah.
The beautiful future seems so close, just not close enough. And I feel that completely, Jackie. Thank you for that. And I'm sure you're not alone in that. I'm sure we're not alone in that. And it's there. It just, I guess, showing the pieces still frustrated by negative thoughts, some things, reflecting in and how to get over the hump, so to say. And that was my venting earlier on. I think if we can have a kind of a corporate body, as it were, not in the sense that we understand it now, politically and economically, but if we're a caravan of love, let me put it that way,
Ooh, like
where
that.
there's a movement of vibration and consciousness and people and community and togetherness, it's possible then, isn't it, for people to kind of fall back off and back on to that. Between us together, we've got something that we can feel at the best of times is moving in the right direction. And then when it gets frustrating, or when we have individual crises and difficulties, we fall off that. But we know it's just near us, and we can jump back on and be part of, the old cliche about the geese flying. We can take a turn in the formation, can't we? And keep moving towards that goal. So I really meant that invitation about, certainly together we're stronger. And it's nice to have people around who can remind you when you forget as well about, where you said you wanted to go, and re-inspire you. The inspiracy theorists among us.
Yeah. George is saying, over the last few years, so much more hostility and anger seems to have reared their heads in masks of good things. Funny that you mentioned masks. There are many issues being brought to light, many things that need attention. Yeah.
Have you got any examples there,
Yeah.
Badger Man?
Yeah.
I wonder, but totally get the gist of what you're saying there. Yeah, and that's so. Do excuse me. That's so disappointing, isn't it? When it has the mask of a good thing, but it's actually underneath it. It is just a Trojan horse for hostility and anger, and people are sort of co-opting good ideas for less than good reasons, perhaps, or motivations.
And he's added, but so much of the attention feels lacking in the positivity needed.
Well, here it is, mate.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. Well, we're either going to do it or we're not. And I think it's this sort of thing that makes it attractive to be part of the herd, because it's actually easier, isn't it? It's easier to just keep your head down and forget about all this stuff and move on and not really want to talk about it. It takes effort, I think, to generate that great level of positivity that might birth something new and worthwhile. We can't do it alone. And it's not easy doing it together sometimes, as we've discovered. Human beings do struggle in some ways, don't they, to work together.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've got any choice. We don't have a choice but to do it together, as it were, and be there for each other, remind each other, support each other, and recognize that it's a big, like I said last night, like it's a big bit of work, but it will be the making of us in the creation of what might be being talked about here tonight. Did you have a glitch in your matrix there? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Spooky.
Yeah, well, things are changing. So we're coming up to
Badger,
the last...
nice. Thanks, George, for being here tonight. Really appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, thank you everyone that's here today. Really, really enjoying it. Badger's just adding in, and it seems anyone who speaks up in support or otherwise seems to get shouted down if it's not perfectly aligned with a fashionable narrative. Yeah, I really hear you there.
I'm not here, brother.
Huh?
No, I'm saying to him, not here.
Oh yeah.
Not in this community. And I know we blocked someone, but they were being silly. They're welcome back. They're welcome back tomorrow night. They're welcome.
That was a troll. I mean, that was an obvious.
But they're
troll.
welcome back if they can be on the same wavelength and contribute. They don't have to behave in an ideologically correct way, but we can do without comments that are completely inappropriate and disconnected.
Yeah.
But all are welcome, and you don't have to have an ideological tick box. So you ain't going to get shouted down here.
That's a great
Only for fun.
note. That's a great note for us to end this on. That's our 30 minutes. So we're going to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for joining us, and join us again for another session. We'll talk about whatever arises for us. We've got some interviews coming up with different speakers and coaches and whatnot. So just like, subscribe, and what are you doing? I'm trying.
I want to show one more meme, which I think sums this up.
What?
But I can leave it
That's
on.
outrageous.
I'll leave it on at the end. All right. Did you want to play this?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Can I have my dinner now?
Yes, you can.